The scariest conspiracy theories.
Historians and researchers believe that Atlantis was a real place, a highly advanced society with impressive technology and culture. The ancient Greek philosopher Plato wrote about Atlantis in his...
There was a girl who couldn't leave her room every October 10th of the year.
Why October 10th?
This is why. So the mom, whenever the date came, she would mark it on the calendar. She would circle it. She would highlight it. Make sure that
Welcome
her
to
kid...
another episode of the High Frequency Chaos. Today, we're going to dive into some more conspiracy TikToks that I guarantee will have you thinking. Let's go down this rabbit hole together.
So I found out who actually owns BlackRock, but there's something really weird about it. Because by now we know that BlackRock is in the top 3 shareholders of basically every corporation in America and beyond. And they do this using our money in things like retirement accounts, pension funds, IRAs, exchange traded funds, mutual funds, but most people don't actually know who owns and controls BlackRock. We all know that it was founded by Larry Fink, and he's the face of the company, but he does not control it. When you try to find out who does control it, you'll usually find this list, which is the top institutional shareholders. Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street are right at the top, just like every other company. But this is not the whole story. Because if you dig deep enough, you'll find out that actually Merrill Lynch owns 45% of BlackRock. And they're considered an insider, so they don't show up on the top institutional holders list. This merger took place in 2006. So actually Merrill Lynch controls BlackRock in a big way. But who controls Merrill Lynch? Well, Merrill Lynch is actually a division of Bank of America, because Bank of America bought them out during the '08 financial collapse. So who owns Bank of America? Well, nowadays, Warren Buffett is the top shareholder of Bank of America because he owns Berkshire Hathaway, which is his billionaire investment firm. I'm still not sure what this top one is, this 25%. That's an anomaly, and I cannot corroborate what those shares are, but I found these shares. This is a screenshot from Berkshire Hathaway's 13F where they tell you all the things they hold, and I totaled up all of these Bank of America shares, and it equals 1,032,000,000 shares. That's 13% of Bank of America shares, equal to $33 billion. But I also dug in a little bit into where Bank of America came from and who founded them, and all modern banks are crazy histories of mergers and acquisitions and banks changing their names and merging with other banks, probably for no particular reason. But Bank of America traces its roots back in 2 different directions, one of which we're not going to talk about, and the other one is back to this Italian dude named Amadeo Giannini, who acquired what was then called Banca d'America d'Italia. Sorry for that accent. Over the years, it changed its name to Bank America, and then in the biggest merger in history, merged with Charlotte-based Nation Bank in 1998. So I just thought it was interesting that half of the lineage of Bank of America was founded by this Italian dude that got really into Italian banking back in the early 1900s, you know, when there was a certain Italian organization that was doing a lot of things with money back then. I'm sure it was all above board though, obviously. But anyways, back to the weird thing that I can't figure out. Bank of America owns Merrill Lynch, who owns the vast majority of BlackRock. But they don't have anyone on the board as far as I can tell. Usually, the biggest shareholders of a company have representatives on the board that sort of represent their investment. But I've just shown you the whole board of directors of BlackRock, and none of them have any real ties to Merrill Lynch or Bank of America, which seems pretty weird when you own almost half the company to not have any board members. The plot thickens. So 2 things. If you want to follow the history of Bank of America down the other trail, you might wind up at a certain family name that you aren't aware of that is really hard to find on the internet. That'll probably get videos taken down. Total conspiracy theories. And the other thing is, if anyone knows more than me or is literate in this or has info about why Merrill Lynch and Bank of America have no representatives on the board of BlackRock, I would love to know. After all, why would you own half of a company and then have no say in what that company's doing? Or how do they have a say? What's the story here?
So we all know that the banking system's a fraud. They hold our money hostage. When you go and try to take large sums of money out, sometimes you're restricted. But don't put all your eggs in one basket, so to speak, meaning I would take some money out and keep it aside, cash especially, at least while the dollar is still intact. But the banking system is run by criminals and racketeers.
This is why exposing the truth is scary.
People who expose the truth.
One of the most amazing things that I have ever seen at the bottom of the ocean. It was while filming for Blue Planets in the Gulf of Mexico. I noticed there's something out in the distance. Couldn't tell exactly what, but it looked like a dark band. And as we approached it, the dark band became a donut. I saw this donut. It was black in the center. What the heck is that? And so as we get closer and closer to it, I noticed that the black band had what appeared to be kind of water lapping against the shoreline. This band was a ring of mussels. And inside the ring of mussels was a lake. And it's like, wait a minute, I'm already underwater. We went out over the water in this lake and tried to descend in it and bounced off. It was so super saline and dense that the submarine couldn't go down in it. We literally bounced off, and as we bounced off, we sent ripples heading back to the shoreline. It was insane.
You know, what I find real fascinating, every time someone makes a discovery, they're deceased in weird manners. I don't want to say, the word, but, unalived because of their discoveries. What do you think?
My guys, take a look at that chart. Take a look at the arrow on the bottom. See the big red arrow, right? So that's when I left office. That was the lowest point, and that comes right from the government services, comes right out of Border Patrol. Take a look at that. So that arrow is the lowest amount of illegal immigration ever in recorded history into our country. And then the worst president in the history of our country took over. And look what happened to our country. Probably 20 million people. And that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Down. Stay down. Stay down. Get down. Get down. Get down. Hey, get down. Get down. Get down, guys. Holy shit. No fucking way.
Are you ready? On you. Move.
Down, down, down. Someone shot. Someone shot. I'm good. Check. Somebody got fucking hit. Somebody got shot. Get in. Get down. You're fine. Get the fuck down. Get down. Stay down. You hear it again, you go in the fucking opposite direction of the same thing. You hear me? Stay down. Again, go in the opposite direction. Somebody got shot over here! Stay down. Get down.
You know, when I saw this attempt, it was nuts. I am not a political person by any means, but this attempt I believe would have led us into a civil war. I mean, the world is crazy as it is. The temperatures are so high on the left and on the right. People, families are literally against each other because of the party that they're choosing to side with. And it's unfortunate. But again, I won't dive into politics here, but just reacting to these videos. But on this attempt on taking this man's life, whether you hate him or not, what are your thoughts? Do you think that we as a society should succumb to such violence because of our beliefs? And let's not forget about the mainstream media and the ideologies and the false narratives that's being portrayed to us on both sides. All right, that's enough. Let's dive back into this thing.
I'm a retired FBI agent, and this is a conspiracy theory that keeps me up at night. In 2018, a treasure hunter tipped off the FBI to a large cache of buried, stolen Civil War gold in a rural part of Elk County, Pennsylvania. Now, the story goes, this treasure hunter had been looking into this since around 2011, probably further back than that. But his research showed that during the Civil War, a secret society known as the Knights of the Golden Circle, a group that operated in the north to sabotage the northern efforts, one of them being to steal this gold that was on its way to the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia and then hide it. Why they never went back for it, I don't know. This treasure hunter had been operating or doing his research and looking for this stuff, and he located a site that was on public land in Pennsylvania. And he was operating under the permission of the Pennsylvania Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. It's somewhere along the way, this treasure hunter and the DCNR had a falling out, and he follows this up and goes to the FBI. He told them, or however he convinced them, they took it seriously enough to hire an outside agency to go in and do some very high-tech survey of the property to see if there's any validity to this. And sure enough, this high-tech equipment revealed that there was a large mass of some kind at this site underground. And then the FBI, also using pretty high-tech equipment, determined that there was the presence of gold. They end up getting a seizure warrant through a federal judge. They get a writ of entry that gives them access to the land. They do a 3-day search for this using an excavator and all kinds of techniques, you know, to try to locate this stuff. Very well documented, I have to say, very thoroughly documented. And they found nothing. No sign of Civil War gold, no sign that anything had been buried there. Now, currently ongoing, there's a lawsuit between this treasure hunter and the FBI. He claims that they did find something and that there's video evidence of this. I don't understand why the site survey shows presence of gold, a large mass under the ground, and then they find absolutely nothing. So stay tuned, and I'm going to fill you in on this one completely because it really, really interests me.
What are your thoughts there? You know that someone took that shit like it was snatched. That was a snatch and grab. As soon as they found out the hint of gold, someone already snatched that up. What are your thoughts on that? Have you ever heard of this tale?
The scariest conspiracy theories.
Historians and researchers believe that Atlantis was a real place, a highly advanced society with impressive technology and culture. The ancient Greek philosopher Plato wrote about Atlantis in his dialogues, describing it as a powerful kingdom that existed around 9,000 years before his time. According to the legend, the city was situated on an island in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean and was destroyed by natural disasters and catastrophes. There have been numerous archaeological discoveries and ancient texts that suggest the existence of a lost civilization with advanced knowledge of mathematics, astronomy, and engineering. Some of these artifacts date back to the same period when Atlantis was said to have flourished. There is also many geographic and geological features that could match the description of Atlantis in Plato's account. So what do you think?
So, for the record, I definitely believe that Atlantis once existed, and that civilization was much more advanced than we are today. I believe there were mermaids. The Greek mythologies has a lot of truth to it, but that's a whole different topic. But what are your thoughts on it? Well, I guess, no, Greek mythology, Atlantis, that's during that era. What are your thoughts on Atlantis? Do you believe that this civilization existed? I do. Drop your thoughts in the comments.
There was a girl who couldn't leave her room every October 10th of the year.
Why October 10th?
This is why. So the mom, whenever the date came, she would mark it on the calendar. She would circle it. She would highlight it. Make sure that her kid was in her room with no windows and stuff.
Yeah.
She never told her kid why, right? And whenever she had school on that day, or if she had to do something else that day, she's like, nope, you're not allowed to leave the house. So every year, both of them would, on October 10th, they would lock themselves in a room with no windows, right? And every year, fam, you would hear someone ring the doorbell on the house.
Yeah.
Right? But the mom obviously is with the child. So she's like, no, we're staying in this room, we're staying in this room. And as soon as midnight hits and October 11th comes,
Yeah.
the knocking, the ringing of the doorbell disappears.
Well, why that day? Like what?
Exactly. Trust me, it's building up. It's building up. So one day,
If you're interested in that first part, I'll find the second part and we'll throw it out there tomorrow or Tuesday. But that sounds like an interesting story. I'm curious to see the outcome of that.
I'll just give you one example. If you go to McDonald's, anywhere in the world, you will find French fries, or chips as you call them, and you will find that they're always made from the same potato, the russet Burbank potato. This is a potato from America that's unusually long and difficult to grow, but that's what they want, because when you're McDonald's, you like those red boxes with a little bouquet of very long chips. It looks really good, and so they insist that all their potatoes be russet Burbanks, and they further insist that they have no blemishes at all. There's a very common defect of russet Burbank potatoes called net necrosis, and you've seen potatoes with a little brown line sometimes, or spots that come through it. Well, McDonald's won't buy them if your potatoes have that, and the only way to eliminate that is to eliminate an aphid. And the only way to do that is with a pesticide called Monitor. That is so toxic that the farmers who grow these potatoes in Idaho won't venture outside into their fields for 5 days after they spray. And then when they harvest their potatoes, they have to put them in these atmosphere-controlled sheds the size of a football stadium because they're not edible for 6 weeks. They have to off-gas all the chemicals in them. So you see, the desire for a certain kind of chip leads to a certain kind of agriculture.
You know, I haven't eaten McDonald's in a long time, and that's a personal choice, and that's before discovering these videos. You know, the additives and all this mixed DNA of meat in a single quarter pounder, it can't be good. There's a lot of chemicals in fast food. You know, there was a saying from a doctor, if you live by the box, you're going to die in a box. So I would limit eating fast food. It's too expensive anyway. Just go cook. I know groceries are expensive too. It's nuts everywhere. But at least limit that junk food, especially the M. You know, that shit will murder you.
It turns out that volcanoes are not what we thought they were. They aren't spewing lava from deep underground the Earth's crust. They are actually the dead carcasses of old dragons. And if you don't see it yet, maybe you will now. This is the face of a dragon that died. There are many other examples of volcanoes looking like the faces of dragons, just like this one right here. And that's because they are. Now let's take a look at Mayon Volcano. And what do we have here to the right? It is the head of a dragon. The entire mountain is the dead carcass that exploded, and all that remains that is visible is the head. Here's another one, Mount Vesuvius. We got the dragon on the left, and its mouth is spewing out all of the elements inside of its stomach, which I'll get to soon, and it created this mountain here. Now, I bet you didn't know that there are animals that actually use glycerin and potassium to make fiery explosions that shoot out of their body, usually their butt. Such as the bombardier beetle, which has a reaction going on inside of the back of its body, and then it just like shits out a huge flame of fire. So is it really that hard to think that perhaps there was an animal a long time ago that could shoot flames out of its mouth with just glycerin and potassium? But there we are. Now you know that volcanoes are actually the dead bodies of dragons, and there are chemical reactions going on which create the flames going upward, and it's just basically going on in the animal's stomach. However long this thing died, it was probably like 1,000 years ago.
So I actually believe that dragons did exist after all. I believe in Atlantis and the mermaids and so forth. But yeah, dragons, I believe there's a big cover-up with, what happened to their bones. But yeah, dragons did exist. And it's not just because I'm a Game of Thrones fan.
Now this is scary. Did you hear that story about that guy from Friends, the famous sitcom with Jennifer Aniston? His name is Matthew Perry. You have probably heard of him before. He passed away last year after drowning in his own jacuzzi. After this, a lot of people began to question the true cause of his death because they thought something much scarier happened. And it makes sense because listen to this. He took a picture of him in the jacuzzi the very same night that the incident happened. Before passing away, he had posted about Batman on his social network apps. And in one of the posts, there was video footage of somebody throwing down 3 cranberries on a table. Remember, this was his last video he ever recorded. Well, listen to this. There was actually a band named Cranberries, and guess what? Their lead singer just also happened to pass away by drowning. But that's not it. He also had a book where he wrote that if he ever threw a Batman symbol out, he is in trouble. Some people think this is part of some secret Hollywood ritual or something like that. How do you feel about that?
Yo, so this one, I used to love watching Johnny Bravo as a kid. I guess I'm giving away my age there. But Johnny Bravo was the shit. I always felt so bad for the guy. No matter how much he tried, he can never land the girl. And I did not know he was 17. I thought he was in his mid-20s or so forth, staying with his mom. But yo, 17-year-olds, man, he had some really his hormones were, I guess, shit. At 17, my hormones were like that too. I think Johnny Bravo played a bad influence on me. All right, guys. That's the end of this segment or this episode. We're going to see you in the next one. Creepy TikToks, conspiracies, reactions, and deep conversations are coming up. Stay tuned. HFC's back. Peace out.